Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another pop culture podcast episode. My name is Taylor Silva. I'm the young adult librarian here at the Fall River Public Library. And today I am once again joined by David Mello and David Moquin of the Children's Room. And today, because we are so hyped and excited and overall terms of bombastic excitement, we are excited and we are here today because we all watched the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer. So first, right off the bat, Moken, we'll start with you. Did you like the trailer?
Oh, the trailer is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I think it's going to be a great movie.
Now, I was talking to someone the other day, and I realized not many people call Kong, don't call him King Kong anymore. Like, it wasn't King Kong Skull Island. It was just Kong Skull Island. Mm-hmm. And that was just something that I realized, because the entire time they were like, shortly after the Godzilla in 2014 came out, it was almost like a few months after they were like, oh yeah, the next one's going to be Godzilla by himself again. But then after that, they were like, oh yeah, we'll do Godzilla versus Kong one day.
Mm-hmm. But was the original one that came out in '62? That was just Kong versus Godzilla, wasn't it? Or was it King Kong?
It was King. I believe it was King Kong versus Godzilla. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess the reference to King Kong is not used so often anymore. Yeah. And the only reference in the original King Kong movie, by Willis O'Brien, 1930 something or other, was I believe it's only mentioned once, where they exploit Kong once they take him to New York City. And they publicize him as being King Kong. And I think that's really the only reference that you find in the movie to him being king.
But the original book, wasn't the book King Kong?
The book was King Kong. Yeah. Yes. But it's the reference, I think, that the way they exploited him and calling him King Kong. Gotcha. and actually anything that size is king, but right. I believe when it's first mentioned in the original movie is when they take him to New York. And they have him, exploit him in that show, and they refer to him as King Kong, the eighth wonder of the world.
The eighth wonder that I know is Andre the Giant.
Oh, yes, right.
And he will always forever be. But
a little less hairy, yes.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Yeah, that's true, just a little, yeah. You're right, yeah.
So, so it can be any giant monster, kaiju movie, but, this past week I've been thinking about my favorite kaiju movies, and even though we're very spoiled with, there's been this awesome resurgence of Godzilla movies in the past 6-7 years. Again, starting with Legendary's 2014 Godzilla, right. That I think took a lot of people by surprise with how good it was.
Oh, it was phenomenal. Yes, I've always been. Even though it's kind of hokey, but I was brought up with the giant monsters being men in rubber suits. And I still love that look, especially Godzilla. The original Godzilla's the giant rubber suit actor stomping through those meticulously made models. They've always been near and dear to my heart. But yes, when the new Godzilla came out, 2014, it just absolutely blew me away. Yeah. The sense of realism, the sense of scale, and just a great reinterpretation of the classic Godzilla character.
Yeah,
I'll agree with you that much, but they didn't show enough of him in that movie.
No, and we discussed that. Yes,
I enjoyed the movie.
I enjoyed the movie too.
It was a great reimagining and bringing it back, and it did. It started off a whole, Snowball with all these,
Yeah.
these
Yes,
new
yeah.
ones too. But killing Bryan Cranston, that was
I know, and
another one. I was
they
like,
they
what the
advertise
heck?
him for all the
Yeah,
ads like,
yeah,
oh, he's a
he's
leading
the-
man.
yeah, and then killing him off, and then the monster was very, they didn't show him.
No,
very
I
much.
agree with you 100%.
When the second one came out, yes, that was from
Yeah,
beginning
yeah,
to end. Him destroying Fenway Park and everything. That
Yeah,
was,
they showed they showed Godzilla very slimly. I remember a particular scene where he's swimming underneath a bridge, and you see the that shock effect of his great big fins,
Fin, yeah.
and you're just waiting for him to make an appearance, and he
Yes.
finally does,
Yeah.
but then.
It was a
After
tease.
that,
It
it
was
was
a
a
little
tease.
tease.
You don't see him to the very end. I mean, that was
Right.
phenomenal,
Right.
and you want to see just more of him. And unfortunately, it doesn't come to the very end. I think what kind of saves it for me is the fact, and I believe we discussed that early, was the other creature that we see more of in the film, the gigantic kaiju.
Right.
I just think it's an extremely unique design. The sense of movement, the look of it, it was enough to engage me throughout the movie. But I would have definitely, and I think that was the major criticism that most people had
Right.
for it, was that you did
Yeah.
not see enough
Yeah.
of Godzilla.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But then seeing this trailer with Godzilla shooting the fire out, and then Kong with the giant what was
We
it?
get-
An axe?
it's an
or
axe.
Yeah,
With the-
giant axe
Yes.
coming down. I was like, oh my god.
No,
So they're showing that in the preview. So it,
yeah, it's going to be a battle royale. Yeah.
Well, so
Now, how many of you have seen the original King Kong versus Godzilla?
I have-
You saw it?
yes.
Okay, yeah. And what were your thoughts on it? I mean, again, it's not going to be any work of, masterful piece of
Yeah,
cinema.
yeah.
But I remember when I saw it as a kid, I just went haywire when I had seen it. Yeah.
Where are you? Because a lot of people. Well, this is a question for later on. But were you happy with the outcome of the original Godzilla versus King Kong?
Well, it was almost kind of a stalemate, as I remember. I remember Godzilla falling into the ocean and swimming away, kind of with his tail between his legs. So, I'm glad neither one of them met their end, because I'd hate to see
Right.
anything terrible happen to either one of those giant
You don't want to see
monsters.
King Kong die again.
Yeah, I was kind of satisfied with it, Yeah.
Do you think that's going to be a similar thing in the new one?
I think both are
gonna be a
too
draw.
valuable a
Yeah.
franchise to
Yeah.
kill either one of them
Right.
off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to see. We finally got a King Kong movie where we don't have to watch him die.
Right.
So,
And might I add that Kong Island,
Skull
Island.
Island.
Excuse me. I thought it was phenomenal. I
Awesome
think we
movie.
all discussed that.
Awesome movie.
That was fabulous.
Yeah, that was just a giant monster romp.
Oh, yeah.
And Kong was done brilliantly, and the animation was not hidden in the shadows. You saw him broad daylight,
broad daylight.
in stark detail, and it was incredible.
And the actors actually.
Oh, they were
Samuel
super,
Jackson
yeah.
chewed up as much scenery as Kong.
Yeah.
did.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
he did.
And
yes.
then John C. Riley as the
Oh,
hermit on the
Yeah.
island there. He's stranded from World War II. That was fantastic.
Yeah, he turned in a wonderful performance
Yes.
there. Yes.
You sure
And
did.
even
All of them
Captain
did, really.
Marvel
That's right,
herself.
Captain
she
Marvel.
was in that one.
Indeed.
too.
All of them were
Yeah.
very, very good.
Yeah.
So, to jump off that, do you guys have a favorite kaiju movie? And it can be Godzilla, it can be Kong, that sticks out in your mind immediately. We'll
Yes.
start with you,
Yes, I do.
Mello.
I mean, I love virtually all the giant
Yes.
monster movies, but the one that still sticks with me today, and it is a favorite of my brother, and I can always think of it. I think of it whenever I watch it, and I watch it, every now and then I'll pull
Sure.
out the CD and I'll watch it. It always takes me back to when I was like 12 or 10 or 12 years old, and being there with my younger brother and us just going crazy watching it was War of the Gargantuas. And I don't know if you're familiar with that one. These
Are you?
two, yes, and basically there's the sea gargantua and the forest gargantua. One is good and one is evil, and there's not really much of a plot except these giant creatures, terrorizing Japan, and one of them is good and is friendly with a couple of the human characters. The other is just bent on all-out destruction. And that's therein lies the movie. Japan trying to protect themselves from these creatures, and of course they always bring out those gigantic gamma rays, and there's endless battles, scenes of them blowing up entire forests, trying to get at these creatures, and of course at the very end you have the battle between the two. And but I have a very fond place in my heart for that movie. And the part that always grossed us out when we were kids was when you first see the bad gargantua coming out of the ocean. He comes on land, and he approaches this airport, and of course the people scatter.
Yeah.
Well, there's one woman who doesn't run fast enough, and it shows him, he reaches down, picks her up, puts her in his mouth, chews her up, and then spits out her dress and what's left of her hair. And when as kids, it was like we were shocked and just wow at the same time. It was just really quite a scene. But no, that has a fond place in my heart.
Nice. Oh, I just looked them. I've never heard of this.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Very
I can see
very
why.
unique designs.
Look at
Yes.
these cool guys.
Yes. Yeah.
I got a little
And they're
David versus Goliath.
And if you're
going on.
familiar with like Japanese art, they're very familiar to like what they would call the onis,
Oh, yeah.
or like the ogres in Japanese mythology. So they borrowed a lot from from
Nice.
traditional mythology in interpreting them.
That's cool.
And as a matter of fact, I should point out that the actor, the suit actor who played Godzilla, was one of the gargantuas.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Ties it all together.
Yeah, you tied it all together.
See that?
It was all as planned. What about
Now,
you, Moquin? What's
For me,
your,
as hokey as this was, again, I used to go with my brothers every Saturday. We'd go to the movie theater on Pleasant Street, where they would show all of those monster movies
yep.
all day long, and we would sit there all day long.
Yes, yeah.
And my favorite was Gamera.
Oh,
Gamera.
yes, yeah.
Gamera.
Yeah.
And since that first movie, there's been 12 of those movies.
That many? 12?
Yeah.
Oh
They
my God, I didn't realize that.
They've re-upped it. They've revamped it.
Yeah, I realized that, but I didn't know there was 12 of them.
There
Wow.
have been 12 of them. 2006, they tried to reimagine it and do it. a new
Really?
one. Yeah,
Huh.
2006.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, clearly
It's called Gamera the Brave.
Oh,
Same
didn't
plot
quite
with
work,
the kid.
did it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just love those movies.
yeah.
Nice.
And
And you got to ask yourself, what kind of sake was somebody drinking when they came up with a flying turtle that spouts, flames from its openings and
Right, yeah.
yeah,
But he was very gentle and he helped the kids.
Right, yes,
too,
yeah.
And you'll remember. I don't think he will remember this, but
Ouch.
yeah, it doesn't feel good on
That was
the
a
other,
self-
on the other foot.
That was a
huh?
self-burn.
So, Creature double feature.
Oh,
Remember-
yes.
Do you remember those?
oh God, yes,
Do you remember those? No.
I know.
yeah. Staying up late on Saturday nights and
Yeah, yeah.
watching Creature Double Feature,
Creature
sure.
double feature, and then even Mystery Science Theater
Yes, yeah.
did.
I know Mystery Science.
They did a lot of those. They did a lot of the Gamera, and I think they did a few of the Godzilla ones.
Yeah, one of them, I believe, is War of the Monsters. Yes, was
War
one
of the
that, yes.
Monsters.
Yeah.
So you got to check those out.
I will.
Yeah.
So
And check out Creature Double
I-
Feature
I
because
know Creature
when
Double
we were
Feature.
young,
Oh God, yeah.
you had an antenna on top of the TV, and
Oh,
it was channel
yes.
56.
you black boxed it.
And we'd have
broke
to,
the law.
And it was always coming in with snow.
Yeah,
You
and
could
the
barely
constant.
see the damn movie. That's right. And then every now and then somebody would nudge the TV or something.
And
would
the
happen
other
and
thing-
the thing would go out.
And the other thing that young people today will never understand is when you mentioned the TV rolling.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when
Yes,
the TV would roll?
yes.
You don't even know what I'm
TV
talking
what
about.
do you? The TV would roll.
The
The
picture would
picture.
scroll.
Yeah.
Just keep on rolling, like it was on a wheel. Yes, the image would keep on scrolling.
Okay.
And you'd have to adjust it. Try your best to adjust it, and sometimes it would roll in the opposite direction, either up or down.
Yeah.
You had to kind of balance it just right.
It's like the opening crawl for Star Wars.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, only you had the entire picture.
That's
and
madness.
sometimes, if you wanted to see it bad enough, you would just sit through that. And,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
get out of here.
Yeah,
So-
it was crazy.
I'm glad that you guys were choosing very different movies. One of my favorite non-Godzilla kaiju movies is Cloverfield,
Oh.
Yes.
I had
the
that on
original
my,
Cloverfield.
Yeah.
I remember seeing. Do you guys remember what the very first trailer was for that movie? Do you guys remember it all?
the
Yeah,
Statue of Liberty.
the head.
So yeah, so that's
Yes.
where it ended.
Did you see that in the theater?
Indeed,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Because I recall.
You had to see it in the
That-
theater.
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater
Yeah.
too. But I recall there were a lot of people that got sick with that movie.
yes.
Yes, a lot of people. I remember reading articles about it. Yes,
The
Just
the motion, you know, with
motion, yeah,
the
the spinning.
camera.
but it worked so
Oh,
well
yeah,
in that
yeah.
movie,
Talk about
especially capturing the sense of scale,
yeah.
which I thought it was very successful in doing.
That whole movie, from I say from the beginning, say trailer,
Mm-hmm.
they hook you with that intrigue because
yeah.
you're like, okay, and at the very end of the tree, they do the whole thing where it's the party and you have it's T.J. Miller, right?
T.J. Miller,
And
yeah.
he's filming everyone, and they're saying goodbye to their friend, and then they hear the explosion. They go upstairs. They see They go down to the streets, and that's when you get that the Statue of Liberty head.
Yeah,
Right.
Comes careening through
Yep.
the street, and it ends. And they didn't put the title of the movie at the end of that first trailer. They
Oh.
just put the date that the movie was going to come out.
Mhm.
So, being a child of the internet,
Mhm.
you had all of these people. It was the first trailer was for the first Transformers movie. I remember that, and you had all these people going online and being like, "What the hell was that trailer?"
Wow.
So
See, I don't remember that much about it.
It-
You remember more than me.
you had people saying it's a new Godzilla. It's a new. People are saying, Voltron. People are saying it was a Voltron.
Now that you're bringing that up, I remember going online before the movie had come out, and because it was publicized a long time before the movie actually
Right. Correct.
came to the screen.
Correct.
And I remember, Cloverfield. What the hell? What kind of a name is that?
Yeah.
Cloverfield. That's not a monster's name. Is that a street name, or what is it? And I remember going, and I knew it was a giant monster movie. I eventually found that out. And I remember going online, doing Google images, and trying to find out what the Cloverfield monster looked like.
Sure.
And there were many, many different interpretations. Of course, none of them were anywhere near
Right.
what you eventually saw on screen. And I up to that point, I don't think I ever saw any kind of creature that looked remotely like that.
Yeah.
Walking around on two legs,
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
But it was very believable the way it was, the way the mechanics of the creature was eventually realized for the film.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Oh, go
I
ahead.
think J.J. Abrams is a master at that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And,
That.
the movie that I wrote down too was that Super 8, which was
Oh,
an earlier
totally.
one.
Oh,
that
right,
was
yeah,
another
yeah.
one that was
That's a good one,
fantastic,
too.
with the kids making the movie, and Kyle Chandler seems to be in all of these movies, huh? He's doing the
Oh, that's a
King
good
Kong
point.
movies
I
too,
know.
huh? I don't know where he gets all these great roles.
He found his niche.
Yeah,
You know?
but he's a master of that with Lost, with all the even
Well,
TV,
right.
all the
Yeah.
TV stuff he
That-
did, and
that
he,
sense of
he likes
intrigue.
to tease people, and
Mhm.
throw this out and
Yeah.
see if they take the bait.
That when Cloverfield finally came out, my best friend and I went to go see it kind of like what you were saying with your younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
We went ballistic. It was the first time we'd ever seen a movie like that,
Mm-hmm.
where, like you said, from the minute the movie starts, the scale. They did such
Yep.
an amazing job where you're like, oh my god.
And I remember one of the things, as we're talking about it now, is I remember doing this in the theater too. I remember it made me feel, it makes, at least myself, it made me feel like a participant.
Yes.
The way you were following the film, the guy that was filming it through the streets. And I remember, you know, the earlier parts of the movie where you're just seeing glimpses of the creature going through the street and you're catching a tail or you're catching a portion of the leg. I remember, because of the jarring movement of the camera, dodging my head, like from side to side, like trying to look around a building to catch a glimpse of it. And I was saying, it made you feel like a participant in the film. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
That was the first one like that, because I hate those movies.
Oh, I do.
Where it's the point of
Paranormal
view.
Activity.
I agree with you.
Paranormal Activity, Blair Witch.
I
where it's
agree with you.
Somebody's.
Blair Witch? Oh,
I just
no.
don't like that.
Oh, no.
Somebody holding the camera.
Oh, okay.
Oh, don't get me
Blair
going on Blair Witch. I don't understand what people like about that film.
I love
You
that.
are joking.
No, I
don't-
really do enjoy that movie.
Oh my goodness, this is a subject for another podcast.
I felt like I
Why
was.
I will defend Blair Witch.
This is and
Absolutely.
if we do have, it's going to get ugly this next podcast. Yeah, because I have nothing good to say about it.
Bring your boxing gloves.
Oh yes, I will.
I will die on this hill.
Speaking of ugly, we could bring something else up, but maybe we shouldn't. Huh?
Oh, don't even go there. Yeah. Don't even.
Oh, no, we
Okay,
won't.
all right then.
We
Never mind.
won't.
Never
That'll
mind.
be for the end.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll save it for the end.
So, with that said, and I don't know if it'll be the same answer for you guys, and Moquin, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Your favorite kaiju, your favorite giant monster.
Yeah, it
Ooh.
was Gamera.
Gamera is your favorite.
That's my
Okay.
favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Mello?
My favorite kaiju, I guess it would have to be Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
Okay.
The earlier Godzilla, I have a fondness for the original Godzilla. Yes.
Okay.
The big lumbering Godzilla in the rubber costume, and I have a fondness for him.
Okay.
I remember when I was a kid, this sounds corny, but I used to collect, again, I think you'll know, all the Aurora models
Oh,
for
sure.
all the classic monsters, and Godzilla was one of them. And I remember when Godzilla movies would come out, I'd go to my shelf, pull it off, go in front of the box TV that we had, and just sit there and watch Godzilla
God.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love them all, but Gamera.
Gamera
always,
is. Wow,
that
I
was,
never
Yeah.
knew
No,
that.
I really
watching
enjoyed
that.
Gamera too, I have to say. And I cannot think of, my favorite Gamera was the one I cannot think of the bird. He fought a particular bird with an arrow-shaped head. And I remember that the climax of the movie was on top of this volcano. And I believe that he dragged the bird up with his laser. Actually, the bird actually was cutting into Gamera with this laser from its mouth. You remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
But
one.
eventually, and you thought Gamera was going to die. But eventually he got the better of this bird creature, and I think he dropped him in the volcano at the end. Yeah, all these movies have the volcano somewhere.
yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You have
gotta
to.
the
You have to
volcano.
end. You have to end.
With a
you
good
can't come back
earthquake
from
or
that.
some type of
Yeah.
volcanic eruption. Yeah.
The
Exactly.
ones I love too were the scientists in the lair, and they're trying to control everything.
Oh, yes, yes.
Those were always fantastic. Too.
Yeah.
So, I think I've told you guys this in the past. My favorite kaiju, and he's not even a real monster. I love Jet Jaguar.
Oh, Jet Jaguar. Yeah.
I adore Jet Jaguar.
Same
so
thing here.
much.
I like all the giant
Yeah.
like, robot characters, and is he considered a robot Jaguar?
Yeah,
Yes.
because they
yeah.
control him with the,
Yeah.
like the kind of like an RC car.
Yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, how cool is that
Yeah.
costume and the helmet and
Oh,
everything?
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. And I just showed you, same vein. They're doing a new. I think I told you, Mello, this morning. They're doing a new Ultraman.
Oh,
movie.
yes. Yeah.
And Ultraman, same thing. Is probably I flip flop between
Mm-hmm.
Which one I like more?
No, I like Ultraman too. I actually have the entire first series of Ultraman
Oh, really?
at home. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
And on the idea of giant robots, what another one I loved was, we spoke about it earlier, Dave, is Johnny Soko and his giant robot.
Oh, yes.
Which was
Yeah.
a popular Japanese. It was a
Mhm.
serial at the time, and when it came to the U.S., they showed it as a movie feature, and they just took all the episodes and kind of
They just-
lumped them all in together.
Mhm.
Now there is a giant kaiju romp.
Yes.
You get everything from gigantic slugs fighting the giant robot to, if you remember the floating eyeball. Now the poor eyeball, I felt sorry for it. Never had a chance. It didn't even have arms or legs, you know. But it was a lot of fun. It was a fun series. And that's the whole idea behind these films, is that for me, I can still watch them, and you're not expecting any great message from them whatsoever, or any insight into the world or human nature or anything moralistic to come from it. It's just a fun romp. It takes you back to when you were a kid and you were playing monsters and in the backyard, and you could just relate to the characters and just have a good time watching them. And it's like watching a comic book almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you saying, going back to your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I put this in. I think I did. I think I put this as a question. What was the first Godzilla movie? Godzilla specifically. First Godzilla movie that you saw. Like, was it the very first?
It was
just
the
him
original
solo?
Godzilla. Yes,
Okay.
that was the original Godzilla movie.
Same
that I
thing
had
with
seen.
you,
Yeah.
Moquin?
No, you talking
Okay.
about in the theater
Ju-
or on TV?
Just in general.
The very first one that we went to see
Yes.
with my brothers was Mothra. versus
Mothra.
Godzilla. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Mothra.
Mothra's
I love that one.
Mothra's a good monster. Now,
Yeah.
you're gonna hate me.
Okay.
It's gonna get ugly, and I think you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna
My
do.
first.
Well.
Think of me.
Oh, don't. Oh, that wasn't your first experience to Godzilla.
It was my first Godzilla experience in the theater.
Oh God.
The first
That's
Godzilla that I
horrible.
ever saw.
Well, it
my-
came out in.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
I know.
in kindergarten.
There you go.
So the first Godzilla that I'd ever seen, I was at my meme's house, and the 1956 Americanized version with Raymond Burr
Yes, Raymond
was
Burr,
on,
yes,
and
yeah.
I had an obsession, just as all kids do, with dinosaurs.
Yes, right. right.
And it was like, oh my God, T-Rex was my
Sure,
favorite, and
yeah.
it's like, okay, here's this.
A T-Rex on
This
steroids.
T-Rex
yes,
that can
yeah.
breathe fire, and how cool is this? It's crushing buildings. And then, come to find out, like maybe a year or two later, there he is.
Yeah.
There he is again. But now I can see him in the movie theater. I begged my mother if we can go see it in theater, and she finally relented. And I left that movie. My stupid 6-year-old brain was blown away. I was probably foaming. Because he looked more like a dinosaur in that one. He looks like like you said, a T-Rex on
You
steroids.
poor child, I feel sorry for you.
Now I can't stand the movie.
Oh,
now.
oh, really? Oh, okay, good. Well, yeah, you've redeemed yourself.
Thank
then.
you. The movie. Go ahead.
No,
The only thing that I'm nostalgic for that movie was for the entire thing. Whenever Godzilla was on the screen, because there's a lot of moments where it's not on the screen.
Right, yes.
And you just have, it's just like the Jurassic Park thing. When you're a kid, you just want to see the dinosaurs, and then when the humans are on screen, you're like looking around, picking your nails, and etc. And then the same thing with that Godzilla movie. It's like, okay, I don't care. I just want to see Godzilla, and Godzilla's in it for what?
Yeah.
For an hour and 45-minute movie, maybe 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
right, but that particular one,
Yes.
we're talking about the Matthew Broderick
Yes.
one. The human characters, I couldn't stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Since
could not
then,
stand them either.
You
yeah.
know, even the King Kong with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
That came out in the 70s, 76,
This
right?
Yeah,
is-
76,
This is
yeah.
And
superior
then,
King Kong.
and then the Godzillas, the more recent
Mhm.
one, and the Skull Eye. The human characters are just, and then the other King Kong with Jack
With
Black.
Jack Black and
Mhm.
Adrian
You know,
Brody.
come on,
Yeah.
that was fantastic
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten better.
Yeah,
With
Yeah.
with their selections of humans.
but
Yeah,
poor
yeah.
Matthew Broderick,
I
you know,
know,
Ferris
poor
Bueller
guy.
versus Godzilla.
Yeah,
you know,
so
it
that
just
that
doesn't-
Matt, the
does
Matthew
not-
Broderick version, right from when I first, and I was excited about it. I remember seeing the previews for it, the man sitting on the fishing dock and
Yep.
being pulled into the water, and I was just so excited that they were doing another Godzilla movie. But when I finally saw the new realization of him, I mean, he looked more like a dinosaur. Like no dinosaur I'd ever seen. It had that very heavy lower jaw that I could just not accept. I did not like the way they changed the dynamics of Godzilla's legs. Sure, it's more like a dinosaur, but those are not Godzilla's legs. Okay. And I just, the whole movement and everything, it was more of a dinosaur
Right.
and not Godzilla.
To the point where it's laying eggs and
Yes, and don't even go there. When they turned Godzilla into a female, forget it. The whole thing with the eggs, and it was just too much. And one of the things I hated most about that movie was that whole particular segment in New York City or wherever it was. I think it was held in New York,
yeah.
where he's playing tag with the helicopters. It was just so ridiculous.
That's right.
Everything about that movie annoyed me to no end.
Like how the last quarter of that movie takes place in Grand Central Station.
Grand Central.
That's
yeah.
right. Yes,
Yeah.
Grand Central Station.
So
yeah.
now, David, don't you feel better getting your
Yeah,
opinion about
you
that
feel-
movie?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
honestly, we can forgive him because he was very young.
Yeah, he was a
I
kid. He
didn't know
didn't know
any
better.
better.
Yeah, he didn't know any better.
And
Yeah,
see, you
Didn't
were
know
able
the
to do that
whole scope.
without the blood pressure.
yeah,
cuff,
yeah.
So
Is my
bravo.
face red though? Yeah.
I see a few
My
Few
God.
veins. I feel the vein on the side of my head pulsating now.
a few broken blood vessels in your eyes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
other than that, you don't look too bad.
And most of the Godzilla movies I got to see were on TV. But one of the ones, it wasn't a Godzilla movie, I have to say.
Okay.
But I would be remiss not to mention this particular kaiju movie. I saw it at the theater on Pleasant Street, and it stands out. I saw it on a Saturday morning, and it stands out as being one of the most exciting theatrical experiences I've ever had in the movies. Second only to Star Wars. The excitement that I felt in Star Wars with the audience just really getting into the film. It's not a great film, but by the way, but it was King Kong Escapes that I had seen at that movie theater. And I never, aside from Star Wars, kids everyone's my age, with their parents. I think I went with my brother and a friend. And it's just, the movie was just filled with such excitement and people screaming and cheering for King Kong. And basically it's King Kong battling a mecha King Kong.
Yeah.
A mechanical King
Yes.
Kong. And a lot of other hokey monsters as well. And a crazy Japanese villain, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
That's right, not the
Doctor
Doctor Who that we
Who.
know of, but just this crazy guy with wild hair and bad teeth. I remember, and it was just a lot of fun, and the mechanical King Kong was just great, and the final segment where they climb a tower and they're battling each other on this gigantic electrical tower, and eventually the Mecha Kong falls to his demise.
Yes.
But it was just an all around, exciting movie for kids, and it was,
Yeah.
and that's what it was made for, made for kids.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Okay.
And I have to say, probably the most horrible King Kong or gorilla suit of any kind to appear on film. I mean, this was a horrible rendition of a gorilla. If you didn't tell you it was a gorilla, you wouldn't know it was. Do you remember it, Dave? I remember his eyes almost like Venetian blinds when they would open and close. And I don't know what was going on with the mouth.
Kong?
King Kong escapes. You bring it up, and they tried to create the extend the arms of the gorilla like like a gorilla would have extended arms. And I remember those arms like bending in such unnatural fashion.
Whoa.
You know, I mean, it was really, really bad.
Oh yeah.
Is this the man?
Oh yes, get a
There he
close up
is.
of that face
I
though.
know.
It was.
Hold on.
I remember every time it did close up of his eyes, because if you remember, the mechanical King Kong was trying to hypnotize him throughout certain segments of the movie, so it would give you a close up of the eyes, and they were just so badly done.
There he is.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at
Wow.
that. Come on, yeah, that was pretty bad.
I like Mechanicong though.
Oh, he was
kinda-
really
he's kinda
cool.
cool.
Yes. The Mechanical King, I found myself rooting for Mechanical King Kong. Yes. No, he was really cool.
What year was that one? Do you remember?
Oh my God, that was,
Does it say there?
I want to say 1970, 1971.
67.
Oh,
Wow.
67.
Well, it
that's
came
really
out.
nice.
Hold on. 1967 Japanese American science fiction kaiju film.
Yeah, I want to.
67 in Japan, and then 68 in the U.S.
Okay.
So there you have it.
There we have it, yeah.
You're in that
Yeah.
ballpark.
I think I was about 8 years old when I saw it. Yeah.
One of my, and you'll remember this too when I start talking about it. Just the nostalgia of it. One of our patrons used to work on Wall Street,
Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh.
and he used to tell us this wonderful story about when they were filming the movie with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange, and
Yes.
they had the giant
He saw
King Kong.
He saw Kong out his
He saw
office
Kong,
window for a
yeah.
month.
Right.
in,
Yes.
in the courtyard there between the twin towers.
I'd be hard. I wouldn't be able to go to work.
Yeah. I'd be out
Every
there
day
having
he'd
my lunch with him.
Pass by this gigantic King Kong.
Yeah.
You know? That's just it was a great story.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And I remember at the time reading an article somewhere because it was big. It was a big deal when they were remaking that movie, and they mentioned the big model outside in New York, and someone stealing one of its eyeballs.
Oh,
Yeah, someone ran off with
Yeah,
one of the
that
eyeballs of King
figures,
Kong. Yeah.
But the poster itself, where he's standing on.
Oh,
the
it's a
twin
great
on the-
poster.
on the
Yeah.
twin
I
towers,
actually
you know, and
remember-
You're like, wow.
I
now,
actually. Yeah, I actually remember
do
my
that.
uncle sending away for that poster
Yeah.
for me, and I wish I had it. It was a promotional poster.
Huh.
It was beautiful too. I had it for many years, but then it kind of fell apart.
disintegrated. Yeah.
But no, it was really neat. And I remember I got a press kit too.
Did you?
It
Wow.
came with a press kit.
Oh,
Yes,
that's neat.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really neat.
1976.
But I remember how
yes.
they promoted that movie, saying that this was a mechanical King Kong, and it was done by it was Carlos Rambaldi
Right.
who designed it, and it gave you the impression that you know you were going to see this gigantic King Kong on screen. But of course, it was Rick Baker that you saw,
right.
you know, the costume by
Yeah.
him, and the one scene that had this gigantic King Kong, remote King Kong, and it was at the somewhere at the end when he was caged. Remember that kind of metal
Yes.
brace they
Yeah,
put him in,
yeah.
and he had a large paper crown.
Yeah.
And they spent, I forgot how many thousands of dollars on that big robotic Kong, and all they could get it to do was raise its arms. I mean, stiffly.
Oh my God.
It was a
was
a big bust.
Dino De Laurentiis.
Dino De Laurentiis,
production,
yes,
you know.
yeah.
And Jeff Bridges, looking like the dude from The Big Lebowski. You know,
Yes,
and,
right, exactly,
And even
yeah.
Jessica Lange, when the hand came out, and the
Oh, yeah.
gigantic fingers, it was.
Yeah,
I still have a soft spot for that.
Oh yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
But going on to other pop
Yeah,
cultures,
go right ahead.
giant creatures. There's Rugrats had Reptar.
Oh,
Remember
Reptar,
was
yes,
a
that's
Godzilla
right.
spoof, you know.
Going,
And then even Ghostbusters with the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Oh,
yeah, that's
He's-
right,
He's
yeah.
one of the
He's kind of
yeah.
reminiscent of that whole genre.
Oh, yeah. And then I was talking about the comic books back in the
Yes.
70s. I had the whole run. There were 24 issues.
Mm-hmm.
He faced off against the Avengers. Did
Oh,
guys-
I
did
don't
you
remember
guys-
that.
like
Yeah,
Captain
the
America.
superhero,
Oh,
yeah, the
We'll say
Avengers.
the British Avengers.
He also, yeah, go ahead. And the Fantastic Four made an appearance in one of the issues,
Really?
and then the last issue, Spider-Man.
Oh,
See,
Yeah.
I remember having
Wow.
several of the Godzilla comics, but I don't remember him
You don't remember the
going.
superheroes?
No, not facing the superheroes.
That
no.
I will track that down.
Yeah.
That'll go right near my Spider-Man versus Superman comic.
And now you're mentioning the Godzilla in the comics, but I remember one of the series of comics that were produced by Marvel were Where Monsters Dwell.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I
And
do,
it featured a different. Again, most of them were imagined by the wonderful Jack Kirby.
Yes.
These monsters, they're like, where did he come up with these things?
Right.
And I remember going down to the drugstore, and when there was ever an issue of Where Monsters Dwell, or there was another one, and it was like, oh my God, I've got to have that, because the covers, I was foaming at the mouth. I just had to,
Yeah.
cough up my 15 cents and get the comic.
If you put in Avengers and
I will. I'll
Godzilla,
have to.
I'm sure it'll come up because there's a picture of Godzilla coming through the buildings,
Oh.
and there's Thor and Captain America. They were all standing
Where
there.
Monsters Dwell, and I think the other one was Monsters on the Loose, if I'm not
Monsters on the Loose.
mistaken. No, that's not it.
Did DC have a similar thing with
I don't remember one just
No.
with monsters,
just,
for
just
DC.
Marvel?
It was Where Monsters. I got to think of the other one.
So you're gonna have a lot to put in your.
I'm getting a lot of
And
junk.
your wish list
I
there,
know. I'm getting a lot of
Taylor.
junk on Google Images. I'm gonna have to look this up later. Like I'm getting
Yeah.
bad photoshops of
Well, if you look
Thanos versus King Kong,
Oh,
which
it
we
was
all
the-
know who would win.
Wik-
Okay.
Wikipedia, I think,
That's
was
okay.
Godzilla.
I'll find it.
Yeah, I'm sure. You will. So
Have you
had to
guys?
throw those pop
Oh, of
culture
course.
references out there too. with the-
Speaking, have you guys read the more recent Godzilla comics?
No,
They're really good.
really.
Two in particular, by one of my favorite comics creators. His name is James Soko. I was telling you the other day. The first one he did was called Godzilla in Hell, and Godzilla literally falls down a impossibly deep hole, and ends up in hell. And Godzilla's got to go back, and he fights all of these weird, disgusting, kaiju-like
Really?
hell
Wow.
beings, and they
That
all
sounds
have
interesting.
they have millions of teeth and other appendages, but the thing that's awesome about this comic is James Soko. His MO are these impossibly detailed, double spread panels where it's just a landscape.
Wow.
And it's remarkable. I have to show you
Well,
guys.
you're gonna have to point it out to me after this.
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
Sounds good,
And
yeah.
then he did another one called Godzilla Half Century War. That's more in line with the movies. You have human characters, but Godzilla in Hell. Another really cool part about that book: there's not a single piece of dialogue.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally just Godzilla fumbling his,
Right.
his lumbering
From
way.
his point of view, and of course he
Yeah.
wouldn't say anything.
Yeah,
that's
it's
right.
just
Yeah.
the monster roars and screeches,
Wow.
and there's only like one line of dialogue,
So
and
all told
it's-
from the story,
yeah.
from the pictures. Yeah.
yeah,
yes,
the only
yeah, wow.
the only phrase of dialogue is "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here,"
Wow.
and that's
you got to
it.
point this out to me. It sounds great.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there's other awesome King Kong, Godzilla comics. How come there's no King Kong comics anymore? Godzilla Kingdom of the Monsters by Eric Powell. Godzilla Complete Rulers of Earth by Chris Morey. And then, like I said, The Half-Century War and Godzilla in Hell are my... I would recommend any Godzilla or Kaiju fan to give those movies comics a whirl.
No, you got to point that out to me. It sounds really good.
Yeah, they are terrific.
I don't remember ever seeing a King
Right?
Kong comic book.
Yeah.
No, that's
Besides
not just saying that.
your King Kong versus the Avengers there.
No, it was Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla! Oh, that's why I'm not getting anything.
Oh, did you put in
I
King
did. Oopsies. Godzilla versus
No, it was
Avengers.
Godzilla
Oh,
versus
okay.
Avengers,
I was like, how come? There we go.
Did you see the picture? Yeah.
Oh, look at Mr. Fan. And the audience will really love this. Look at that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's kind of in line with Godzilla in Hell, where it's just these giant double spread.
Oh,
I
it's
assume
beautiful, yeah.
that's a double spread.
Yeah.
That is super duper.
And they came out in the 70s. It was
Yeah.
1970, between 77 and 79.
Wow. So you got,
24 issues.
maybe Kong after this we'll get some kind of comic love, but
Yeah, you never know.
yeah.
And one thing we should mention too is
Yes.
that we know him as Godzilla, but we know him. He's become more popular in the corrupted version than what he was originally named. It was originally Gojira. Some of the listeners might know, and it was. I guess it became corrupted when it was. Eventually came abroad to the United States.
Americanized.
And one little tidbit that I came across, which I didn't realize, which we were sharing beforehand, was Godzilla being a derivative of two Japanese words, Gorira, meaning gorilla, and Kujira, meaning whale. So he's a gorilla whale.
Ape whale. Yeah.
Yeah, ape whale. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense with his aquatic. He's all
Yeah.
The first scene you see him in, he's coming out of the water.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things I didn't realize until reading I came across it a few years back, was we have the image of Godzilla being the man in the rubber costume, but there were actually a lot of scenes in the original Godzilla that utilize a hand puppet, a simple latex hand puppet. And when I actually went back to review the movie, and sure enough, one of the first times you see him when he's appearing over this hillside, you look at it and say, that's definitely
obvious.
A hand puppet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that obvious.
Nice.
Yeah. But they were very clever.
David Mello, but right before we started recording, I think I had you stop. But you were talking about the fellas who were underneath the Godzilla costume.
Yes.
And
the one name that stands out is Haruo Nakajima. He was the original Godzilla. And he went on to play it in the character in 12 different films. Excuse me. And he's kind of the almost like the father of Godzilla. And he went on to mention his experiences playing the character, how he could barely move inside that 220-pound latex and cloth and fiberglass costume. Now, I don't know about you. I don't even know if I could even stand.
Sure.
That's basically carrying another person on your body, wrapped around you. And he went on to say how the movement was extremely limited, and he could only stay in the costume for like 15 to 20 minutes at a time before they had to get him out. And he would lose up to, what was it, like 5 pounds a day?
Oh my God.
In just perspiration, sweating off, burning off
Sheesh.
in that costume. And there was a hose that would be placed into the costume that could pump air oxygen to him because there was hardly any. Once you were moving in the costume, you could hardly breathe, and it was just so hot inside there. During the scenes where he was in the water tanks for battling ships, he would mention how freezing cold the water was. And in one instance, when he was filming a segment, there was the costume was supported by a crane when he was in the water, and there was a hose leading, pumping oxygen into him. At some point, the crane that was supporting him in the water fell over on its side, taking him under, and he nearly drowned in the costume at that time.
Do you know which movie that
No,
occurred?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't know if he said what movie it was.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
and he could only his only view to the outside world were 3 strategically placed holes in the neck of Godzilla, and even it shows him in the documentary pointing out the holes, and they're just so cleverly hidden in that rough texture of Godzilla's skin that you cannot see them at all. Yeah, it's
Wow.
yeah. But the original costume was made latex and cloth over a cloth bodysuit, and it was made that way up until 1983, when they would start to do they would sculpt the Godzilla costume and then do castings and then latex costumes pulled from it.
Wow.
So it was made from scrap in the early years.
That's incredible.
Yeah, really incredible.
Sheesh.
And sad to say,
Yes.
there are no of the earlier Godzilla costumes. There's none that have existed. That's still in existence.
Really?
Just because of the nature of the rubber, they just deteriorated, and unfortunately, we have no original Godzillas today.
Wow. That is sad. Have you guys seen this? Totally off. I don't say off topic. Did you guys see? I think I asked you. Did you see Shin Godzilla?
Yes, I did.
What did you guys think of that? Because it focuses more. If the focus is Godzilla, because you can't have the movie without Godzilla, but I read somewhere online it was like, oh yeah, now it makes sense. It focuses more. The movie focuses more on the fallout, I guess, of like what would realistically happen behind the scenes if this were to happen. And you have a lot of like political moves and I don't want to say sabotage isn't the right word, but you get the idea.
Right, yes, yeah.
And
what stands out about the movie to me is just the really unusual realization of Godzilla. Especially when he first comes out of the water, it's more like a snake-like red serpent, almost like a Chinese dragon. And I found it at first disarming, but then I kind of liked it, and I liked seeing the whole evolution of the character to the image that we finally accept as Godzilla. I enjoyed the film for the most part. It was very different.
Yeah, like you said, the whole, all of Godzilla, all of the G-Man's appearances in that movie, from, like you said, the tentacle thing in the water, and then eventually at the end you finally get Godzilla proper. Just you're like, oh, ew. Like, you're like, yeah, that's definitely something that survived a nuclear blast.
And going back to the thing first as like a tentacle thing, that was as what I came across just early on reading about the first concepts of Godzilla were, as I mentioned to you, Dave, they originally were conceiving Godzilla as being a giant octopus or a giant squid. That was going to be the original Godzilla.
Wow. Do you know if the squid or this, the original iteration, was it going to have feet, or would it just be?
I did not mention.
That would be really cool if it was just like the whole thing just took place out at sea, in the middle of nowhere, and you got to get the hell away from this thing. That would, I just came up with $1 million But
Now, we've mentioned Godzilla, but we have not mentioned his kind of evil twin, who's appeared in many of the movies.
who's this?
Mechagodzilla.
Yes.
I mean, how cool is Mechagodzilla, really? I mean, he's got missiles coming out of his toes, out of his fingers, lasers out of his eyes, rockets coming out of his belly button. It's like he's just what a lethal device he is.
Yeah.
You know, I've always loved the movies that have always incorporated
Like robot
Mechagodzilla.
versions.
Yes, especially the one version where Godzilla does battle with him. And he finally defeats Mechagodzilla by twisting his head off like a bottle cap. I mean, how cool is that?
So you, in the same vein, you must like Mecha King Ghidorah.
Yes,
Yes.
I do. I like all the mechanized
Yeah.
monsters. Yes, yeah. I remember one particular movie called The Mysterians. If you're familiar with that, you don't see it that much advertised, but again, it's this a race of beings. They have these funny helmets that they look like forerunners of what are the karate characters?
Power Rangers.
Look like forerunners of the
Yeah, no, they-
of the Power Rangers. Only the evil. And they have this, they come to invade the Earth, and to aid them, there's this gigantic robotic creature, and I cannot think of its name. Yes, there they are.
Is that the creature?
That's the creature. I can't think of his name.
I like him.
He has
He's
a
cool.
particular name, too. It looks like a giant armadillo. And,
now that
yeah, but it was pretty cool, though. I really like it. But it's one that you rarely see in on late night TV or anywhere for that matter. And I remember it being very good.
Well, a lot of people will be seeking these out. You know, there were 32 Godzilla movies.
32.
32.
That's got to be one of the
Original
most
Japanese, and then
successful franchises, right behind like James, right there with James Bond and
and there have been 3 American. You know, the
and Star Wars and
Yeah.
yeah.
the Godzilla, and then the last one, and the new one with Kong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's more.
Just counting Godzilla.
Got it. So there was a Netflix series. I don't recommend you watch it. Actually, I could recommend the first. There was a trilogy of Godzilla animated movies that came out on Netflix. The first one it came out maybe a year or two after this first legendary movie came out, with 2014 with Godzilla. It was good. It was good. It takes place far in the future. It's kind of a what if. I'd have to look up. I know there's a subtitle. It's Godzilla. And it takes place years in the future. What would happen if Godzilla took over if Godzilla won and forced humans to get the heck off of Earth? And it's cool idea, cool concept, right?
Yeah.
First movie, pretty good. Stop there. The second one they introduce. I don't want to give it away. They introduced one particular monster. You just mentioned it, and this is what reminded me of him. And it's the only monster. It's the only Godzilla movie where it's ever like they introduce a monster and then it literally does nothing.
Oh, gee.
And then
How disappointing.
Yeah, and then the third one, the villain is King Ghidorah. How can how do you get King Ghidorah wrong?
And they managed.
They
to do
managed
that.
it.
Oh my Lord!
They managed it. They crushed it.
I'll
They
tell you,
knocked it out of the
King
park.
Ghidorah. I mean, what a knockout of a giant monster.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time I'd ever seen it in Monster Zero. And it was like, oh my God, this is like the coolest thing ever.
The 3-headed dragon and
Yeah, I still remember my model. I had Godzilla. I had King Ghidorah, I had Rodan and of course King Kong. And
Did you
what a
own-
wonderful realization.
Did you own Anguirus?
No, I did not.
I liked Anguirus
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a kid,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I like. He's a favorite of mine
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yes.
King Ghidorah done proper was in this last Godzilla movie.
Oh,
that came out.
phenomenal! Absolutely
They
phenomenal.
made him such a rock star.
Yep.
You know that movie made all the monsters.
And what I really liked
great.
about it was they did not change King Ghidorah.
Right.
Many times when they revamp one of these
Mm-hmm.
older characters, they'll do something crazy. They'll add something, just completely inappropriate. But they were so faithful. They
Yes.
just made it more more realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you just believed it when you saw it on screen.
Look at Rodan. It's just a pterodactyl.
Right, right.
But that scene where Rodan shows up for the first time and
Sure.
passes over that small city or town, and then it flaps its wings. and
Right.
the entire place turns to dust.
And again, even with Rodan, we say he's a pterodactyl, but he's really not a pterodactyl.
Right.
He has a very unique look to him,
Yeah.
and they were faithful to
Yes.
it, which is great. You were with this last movie. You were like reunited with all these old characters from your childhood, and you could immediately identify with them once again,
Yeah.
and they were just done so brilliantly.
Yeah. But like you said, sometimes they reintroduce a character or monster and they change it so
Right.
dramatically.
Exactly.
That's what happened in this third animated Godzilla movie. They're like, here's King Ghidorah, and it's like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Not at all.
Yeah.
There are cool ideas that they do.
Right.
It's like, okay, cool concept, but I was talking to a friend yesterday afternoon about it, and I was like, dude, XYZ about this movie, because it's a spoiler.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, like, absolutely, and that movie still sucked.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
Yeah, if you're going to take an iconic character, you've got to, and you're going to reintroduce it, you've got to hang on to some of the attributes
Exactly.
visually and certain aspects of the characterization itself for, the audience to recognize them. Otherwise, you're just creating an entirely new creature or creation.
And that's probably why the Matthew Broderick one did not work.
Right, exactly. You
Those
could
were the
not
guys
accept
that-
it.
They were the ones behind Independence Day, and I
Yeah.
think
That's
they
right.
kind of
That's
Yeah,
right.
to me, it's just a big dinosaur movie, but it's not a Godzilla movie. Yeah.
That movie, this is again, this is something for a totally different episode. Do you guys know the history of that movie from like its conception?
No.
'Cause, who was it? Zemeckis directed it, right? Was it Robert? No, who?
No.
Not
it was,
Zemeckis. Why am I saying that?
Emmerich.
Emmerich. Thank you.
Yeah.
He wasn't the original director.
Really?
Yeah, that movie went through many pairs of hands before
Yeah,
it finally fell into his lap.
Huh.
Yeah. But that's very. It makes sense when you're like, oh, this movie. People. No one says that was a good movie,
Yeah.
and they're like,
yeah.
oh, okay. It was
that-
doomed from the get-go.
Right.
And that's always the
It's
case.
always
is
the
when
way.
It starts off with somebody's vision, and then they hand it off to another person,
Yeah.
and another, and then another.
Yeah.
and another.
Well,
Finally, get a muddled mess.
we're
Well,
talking.
I don't know, David, because it might have been a whole different movie if he's like he's saying it. could
Oh
have
yeah, I mean,
started out with someone
sure.
that really loved the.
Exactly. If that's the history of it, but we're still left with a movie
right.
that is not
Not that
Godzilla.
good.
That is not a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No
not.
matter how it got there, it's still a bad movie.
Right.
And to nothing has an example of this. How you can take a classic characters and just mess it up completely is I hate to bring this up again. Is the last reimagining of the Fantastic Four.
Good Lord, David,
There's a
come on.
prime example where you take these well-known characters, these iconic characters, and you're calling them the Fantastic Four, but in no way do they, in any way, shape, or form, do they relate to the original
Right.
envisionings of
Right.
them. You know?
The very first one with even that one,
Right, but it was closer.
it was closer.
Yeah, it was closer.
And I'm just waiting for
Yeah.
Marvel to do an updated one.
And
but you're right. The last one, it was like
Right.
they put all the characters in a box and just shook,
Shook
up.
it all up.
And it was the whole concept, even how they became the Fantastic Four.
It had
no
nothing to
sense.
do with the original storyline.
not at all.
And my major complaint is what they did with Doctor Doom, one of the iconic comic book villains.
Right.
And it didn't resemble anything to the original character.
Right.
It looked like an emaciated mummy when you finally get to see him. And
Yeah.
even the origin story they don't keep with that as
Right.
well.
You know,
It's-
putting them in this third dimension or whatever
Right,
like it was,
right,
where
yeah.
they go into that made no
and
sense.
I remember a lot of it didn't make
They-
sense whatsoever.
Right, yeah. They were supposed to be in space, and that's
Yeah.
that's how they got their powers. There was
Yeah.
no reason to remake
Yeah,
that.
sometimes I think they try a little too hard to bring you something completely original when they're taking these older, beloved, well-established stories and in their efforts to make them fresh, they just lose sight of the characters, you know. And,
That one was just a complete,
and that's a prime example of it. Yeah,
complete mess.
Yeah.
Right. And with all the technology and the great
and it wasn't
CGI
enough to save it.
stuff, no.
Yeah.
No.
Same thing happened to that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's in so many hands.
Yeah, right. And
And
that's why I brought that up
Yeah.
again because I know it went through a lot of hands. Yeah,
Yeah.
That was delayed many times with its coming out, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You finally get it, and it's a
Yeah.
big old egg.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Maybe we'll finally get a Howard the Duck movie that will.
Oh, I can only hope. It's what we deserve.
The only Godzilla movie worth watching is the one by with Matthew Broderick.
Oh.
Go away.
We'll deal with you later.
Who was that guy? Good grief. So, my friends, we could keep talking about this for hours and
Oh
hours.
yes, we could probably.
But-
yes, yeah. All good things
All
must come
good
to an
things
end.
must
Yeah.
come to an end. And with that said, I want to go around the table, and Moquin, we'll start with you, and we'll go Moquin, Mello, and then myself.
Yeah.
I may have to be the tiebreaker. Who is going to win in Godzilla versus Kong? You know, and you have to choose. You can't say they're going to meet in the middle. Somebody is going to beat somebody up more in this movie.
Just seeing King Kong flying down on top of God, I tend to think it's going to be King Kong.
King Kong, David,
That's
Mello.
Well, it's I agree with you. I think it's going to be King
Might
Kong.
not be who I'm rooting for.
Yeah,
but
it's
I think
not necessarily who I'm rooting for, but I think King Kong is more closer to Americana than Godzilla
Oh.
is, and I
Oh,
think
see, I didn't even think of it
that's
that
the way
either.
I'm going to interpret it. You know, we can't let Godzilla win. You know, it's,
All right.
so yeah, somehow or another, he's not going to kill Godzilla.
Right.
No.
He might send him swimming back home across the ocean with his tail between his legs once again. But I think it's going to be King Kong.
Wow. Well, it's unanimous. I think.
Yeah,
I think
King
Kong.
Kong.
Like I said, and I think we said this at the beginning of the episode, or even before. As badly beaten as these two are gonna beat the crap out of each other.
Oh yes, yeah.
No one, neither one of them is gonna die or be fatally wounded.
Yeah. But
anything like that.
King Kong is only going to walk away with about 30% of his hair, though, by the end of the movie.
That's true.
You know, the rest is going to be singed.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I think King Kong will have the advantage.
Yeah.
In this matchup, we'll see. And before I go, well, before we go, excuse me, that I would like to say is how impressive of a growth spurt has King Kong had since Skull Island to this movie.
Yes. Well, now, the original King Kong, if I'm not mistaken, he was originally supposed to be like 50 feet tall. Is that correct?
That sounds right.
And I know Godzilla, I was just reading about it. Godzilla went from, was originally conceived of being 150 feet tall. And in the last movie, he was 500 feet tall.
Wow.
Okay? So I got to figure Godzilla, King Kong must be close to that size, too.
You see them in the trailer.
Yes, the gigantic.
Godzilla, half of them is always underwater.
That's true.
Right, yeah.
You know, and they do kind of
Well,
square
Godzilla's
up.
got that really long tail, you know.
Yeah,
and
you know, height only,
yeah.
not.
He
Yeah.
can use that to
Right, yeah.
That's an unfair advantage.
Slap,
Dash,
slap King Kong around with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smack him.
Yep.
Well, do either of you have anything last points that you want to bring up? Anything kaiju related that we didn't touch upon before we go? I think we hit all of our.
I think we covered
I think we hit
everything,
all
you
of our
know.
points.
And it's just, those movies have just, reverberated into pop culture. There are so many
Yeah.
directors and, that love those movies, that as we did growing up, and they throw them into their own works.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. They've inspired a lot of
Spielberg
people.
and,
And
And I was going to talk about the Stranger Things. It's it's kind of in there too with the Demogorgon.
Oh,
You
yeah,
think
sure.
That was
Yeah.
inspired by those kinds of movies.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
point.
Too. Yeah.
Well,
and for me, they've never lost never lost a bit of their charm. I love the lumbering costume
Yeah.
figures. There's just such a great look to it. I have whenever I watch those movies, I have such an appreciation for the detail that went into the buildings that they're crushing. I mean,
You were saying before,
it's just
yeah.
absolutely remarkable, the amount of detail and those little toy tanks and the imaginative ray guns that appear. Sometimes it's the same ones from movie to movie, but just
Oxygen destroyer?
What's that, please?
The
oxygen destroyer. I should mention that the only prop that is left over, from the original Godzilla movie is the oxygen destroyer. They still have that. Yeah.
awesome.
And I can remember still as a kid feeling so claustrophobic for.
Oh, sure.
I cannot think of what was his name. The professor that went on the one with the patch. I cannot think of his name. I felt so bad for him when he.
Oh, the
you
one
know,
who
yeah.
starts with started with an S.
And I used to know
yeah.
his name. Yeah.
He sacrifices himself.
Yeah, I felt so bad. He lost the girl. He
Yeah,
lost his
that's
wife.
right.
Yeah, he lost his eye. You know. Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well. You sign
Seeing-
up for one of those movies.
Seeing
that's
all
what
the,
you're gonna
all
get.
these
Yeah.
movies, Moquin, you're just like, lost an eye.
Yeah.
Who cares? But guys, thank you very much for joining
And-
me once
oh,
again.
You know something?
Yes.
I got to jump in one more thing.
Go right ahead.
One more thing, and I would be remiss without mentioning this. In 1977, 1978, I can't remember which, it was right after Star Wars. I went to my very first and only sci-fi convention in Boston. And one of the things I was most excited about to see, that one of the feature films that they were premiering there at the time was this much forgettable film called
Laser Blast.
Laser Blast, which they showed in the ballroom. But before that, I was most excited to see the movie Godzilla versus Bambi.
Godzilla.
You've never seen that?
No.
Oh, you gotta bring it up.
Godzilla versus.
Yeah,
You
Godzilla
have to
versus
watch it as
Bambi.
we're talking.
And it was quite the experience.
It's
Yeah.
all of 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's all of I think 2 minutes is being very generous. I think it's a minute,
Yeah.
but it was hysterical.
It's listed number.
But I
30
just had to mention that.
Oh yeah.
It's listed number 38 in the book of the 50 greatest cartoons.
Wow.
Oh, really?
That I only see the thumbnail here. I haven't watched.
Oh, well,
it.
that's basically
It's
it right
very-
there. That's it.
You know, that looks very reminiscent of an Edward Gorey.
Yes, you're right.
Type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
I got we all have our homework. Those
Yes,
of us
yes,
who-
we do.
Who have not seen this.
Yeah.
But thank you guys.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to our next pop culture podcast, whatever
Memory
that may
lane,
be.
you know, all the nostalgia about all
Yeah.
these movies.
I know. Alrighty. Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.